are now listening to Season 3 of the VMX Show. Hello everybody, NecroVMX here, and you are listening to the VMX Show, Season 3, Episode 6. 3-6, that's great, isn't it? We've made it this far. I thought we were going to get canceled, the network was on my ass, and you know how it is. We got the ratings up. Of course, I'm just kidding with you. That was the Colossus from Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, probably my favorite game on the DS. Great game. If you're into the Castlevania series and you haven't yet played this one, and surprisingly I know quite a few people who are into the series but haven't yet played Order of Ecclesia, play it. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, seriously? Well, welcome to the show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got some news, we got some questions and comments, and Pyote, he's one of my subscribers, stopped by for an interview earlier this week, so we'll be having that. We talked about the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. In particular, he wanted to go over the trailer and discuss things that were different from Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, especially as he's a relatively new fan of the series, as he has only played Oblivion. So he's got to get on that, play the old games. But, who has time to do that when Skyrim's coming out, I guess? Let's get to your questions and comments. Let's see. Here we have one from Amaranthus616. I have a question regarding first-person shooters I thought of while watching the last episode of your show. Okay, where's the rest of the question? Hold on one second. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, I see it. That was just the subject. I have a new system here I'm getting used to for questions and comments. As I was listening to your last episode with the All Gamer Head and how he loves old retro games and the part where you both talk about first-person shooters, it came to me to wonder, what is the oldest first-person shooter you have played? For me, it would be Corporation, also known as Cybercop. It was a bit like Deus Ex, with hacking, robots, and puzzles and whatnot, but it came out in 1990, maybe Battlezone if you count that as a first-person shooter. I would like to play some of the older FPS games like Maze Wars, Spasm, Midi Maze, Catacombs 3D, and so forth, just to see what they're like, all older than Wolfenstein 3D, which would be the second oldest first-person shooter I have played. Well, I'm relatively late to the party on that, and the first FPS game that I ever played was actually the sequel to Wolfenstein 3D. Well, of course, Wolfenstein 3D was a sequel in itself, which a lot of people don't realize, that there were two Wolfenstein games that were top-down shooters, and then there was Wolfenstein 3D. But I played the next one in the series, which was called Spear of Destiny. I still have the disc lying around. How crazy is that? The CD, that is, not the floppy. My computer doesn't even have a floppy drive anymore. But there you have it, Spear of Destiny, which was the one that came after Wolfenstein 3D. The Hood Rider sends me a few questions. He says, "Great show, have some questions. Do you think the Sucker Punch movie looks good? Will you go see it?" Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. Is this the Rock'em Sock'em Robots thing? I have no idea what you're talking about. And not sure if I asked you this, but do you watch any anime? Oh boy. If so, what are your favorite series? I do not watch any anime. I do not have any interest in anime. I have watched anime in the past and have not liked any of the anime that I've seen. It just doesn't interest me. I had a whole drama about this on the channel. I think it was last year, or it might have been the year before, where basically I said in a video that I really don't care about anime or have any interest in it whatsoever. And I got some aggressive nerds coming onto the channel and being like, well, why don't you like anime? What's so bad about it? And just giving me shit about it. And I did this long rant video called I Don't Like Anime, Get Over It. Something like that. So, yeah, I just don't, it just doesn't interest me. A lot of my friends are into it, and I just kind of steer clear of discussions of that because it just, it bores me to tears. I have no interest whatsoever in any anime. And what really bugged me, what really caused the rant was not so much that people were giving me shit about not liking anime, but what bugged me about it was that anytime I brought up the fact that I just don't dig anime, people would say, well, you should watch, and then they would list like a whole bunch of animes, and I'm like, well, no, I shouldn't. I don't like anime. Why would I watch it? And it just seemed like exceedingly not only rude but stupid for people to do that, to find someone who doesn't like anime and then to say, oh, well, if you don't like anime, you just haven't seen, the right one, and they would just list a whole bunch of animes that I should watch, or they would ask me, well, have you watched this? Have you watched that? You can't judge it unless you've seen it all, which is retarded. So, yeah, I mean, imagine saying that to somebody who didn't like, let's say, porn. Let's say somebody says they don't like porn, and you say, well, you can't judge porn until you've seen all of it. And they'd be there till the end of time watching all the porn that exists. But no, in all seriousness, that's what really bugged me about it. And it was like, why are you recommending something to me that you know I'm not going to like? It just seemed very arrogant. So I hope that I won't get that now from the newer viewers who weren't around then, who now know that I just don't care about anime. So, good question, though, there. I enjoyed answering it. Here's a message from Vidya Games. Bobby, stop playing those goddamn video games. Hey, Necro, you were right. The first video you ever did with your Logitech controller was a Jazz Jackrabbit on the Game Boy Advance. Pretty entertaining video, and the game didn't look too bad for what it was, though B and A were switched. I also saw your Super Mario World video and felt bad for you when you said you were waiting around for someone to show up on Skype to be on the show. Oh, God, yeah. Must have sucked. It sure did. I'd want to be on the show again, firstly because it was pretty fun last time I was on, and secondly because since you were 3 hours ahead of me, it'd be an optimal time. Oh, okay. Usually that's a pain in the ass, but if it's optimal for you, okay. The only thing holding me back is that I can't think of a damn thing to talk about. I know that I'd need a topic before coming on, or at least I'd assume that. Actually, let me break in here. You don't specifically need a topic, but you do need to have an idea of what you want to talk about. Like, when I ask people, just, tell me what you want to talk about. If you just want to come on and chat, tell me you just want to come on and chat. And also, I'm sorry to interrupt Video Games' paragraphed comment here with my own, but I wanted to clear this up a little bit. A lot of people keep asking me, what do I need to do to be on the show? And I've said it every time I bring it up. I lay it down, and I don't know what more I need to do, so I'm just going to do it again. All you need is a microphone that works, the program Skype, and something to talk about. So, and if you just want to come on and shoot the shit, tell me. I just want to have an idea of what I'm getting into. So, stop asking me what you need to do to be on the show. That's it. Just contact me. Get me on Skype. And, guys, my Skype name is the same as my YouTube name and my AOL Instant Message name and my email name. It's the same everywhere. So please stop asking me what my Skype name is. So, and just so you guys know, it's considered a little bit of a faux pas when you see somebody on Skype to just hit the call button and start calling them. I could be doing anything. IM me first and ask before you do that, because you could be interrupting something. And I'm also not always at the computer, so just leave me a message and I'll get back to you when I can. Skype also has this annoying habit of not telling me when I have messages. The new version seems to be slightly better at that, but it has its own problems. So just be patient. But that's all you need. So that wasn't a rant against video games, just a general sort of fuckery that goes on. Let me go back to his comment. Let's see. Anyways, I do have an actual question for you. Have you ever played Final Fantasy Legend 2, and if so, what'd you think about it? Anyways, great season so far. Can't wait to listen to this current episode. Well, you're listening to it now, probably. Final Fantasy Legend 2... I've played the first one. I never actually played the sequel. Everybody says 2 is the best one. Of course, in Japan, those are known as the Saga games. I liked the first one, even though it was, as typical of RPGs of that era, it was translated to fuck. But I haven't, had the chance to go and play 2. I will eventually. That one, interestingly enough, was remade for the DS, although it only came out in Japan on the DS, so there you have that. But let's see. So that takes care of that in terms of the channel comments and personal, private comments that were sent to me. And I wanted to, before I get to the comments left on the video from last week, let me just clear that up because, well, here it is. New Guy Hi asked, wait, so we asked the questions by private message? You can leave it on, this video that you're watching right now, that you're listening to, the show, you could leave a comment there, and as long as it's not, completely assballs retarded, I will read it out in the next episode, and, I will answer you if I have an answer. Or you can send me a PM, or you can leave a comment on my channel, or you can email me, or you can IM me. Any way that you get it to me is fine, because it all ends up in my email. It all goes to the same place. So as long as I know, or at least suspect that your question is meant for the show, I will put it in that little group there. So don't worry about it. No convoluted rules to worry about when asking a question or comment from the show. So let's... he also posted a comment, so let's see. Hi, Necro. Wanted to ask you two things. Have you played any of the Fallout games? And also, what's your opinion on the band Gorillaz? By the way, first time I searched your name, the first thing I saw was... God. The first thing I saw was a video saying, fuck NecroVMX. Just wanted to let you know, because that doesn't send a good message to people about your channel, and you're pretty awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm not worried about it. I think it's so funny that they get so butthurt that they make those videos, and it's just, don't worry about it. I'm not upset about it, so don't be upset about it. To answer your questions, I'm personally not into Fallout. I haven't played any of them simply because they just don't interest me. I'm not into that whole post-apocalyptic RPG thing. My friend Joey is very much into Fallout. And it's funny because I'm into Elder Scrolls, and when I see Fallout, I'm kind of like, it doesn't really, get my goat. It doesn't really interest me. And then he's into Fallout big time, and every time he tries to play Elder Scrolls, he's like, it's not really my thing. So that's sort of funny the way that worked out. Gorillaz, I don't listen to them, not my type of music. let's see. Okay. Just to follow up from the old Gamerhead said that was good fun. And guys, I'm noticing this a lot. When you leave a comment, you only have to hit that submit button once. A lot of you guys, I see a lot of comments that are marked as spam, and they're automatically marked as spam because you're posting them multiple times. I just removed the redundant ones. But let me get rid of that there. Okay, so PS3TNA says, "Hey Necro, thanks for answering my question. Good episode. New question. What do you think the LA Noire games? What do you think the LA Noire game?" And I assume you mean what do I think of the LA Noire game? And do you think it could start a new series possibly as popular as GTA? I haven't played it, not interested. I do think it'll start a new series. Will it be as popular as Grand Theft Auto? Only time will tell, but I'm going to take a venture and say no because the popularity of GTA is huge. I mean, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, for example, was the top-selling PlayStation 2 game of all time. So I don't see it being, that popular yet. It depends. The right amount of marketing, good gameplay, and controversy will lead it to being that popular. And yes, controversy is a big part of what made GTA popular. Even before it was popular, when it was just Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto 2, it had kind of a cult following because it was like, oh, you get to, beat up cops and kill people and do all this criminal stuff. And then when GTA 3 hit and it was on consoles and it was in 3D and it got marketed better, and it was like, there's this game where you run over old ladies and you beat up hookers, and it intrigues people, and that leads to popularity. There really is no such thing as bad publicity. So, like I said, it would take the right amount of controversy, good gameplay, which would mean translate to good reviews, and marketing for it to be that popular. And it would also take time. So, remember, it was the third game that launched GTA into being this, AAA series. Dave Cornfan says, "Thanks for reading my comment. Nice to hear there will be a 25th anniversary Zelda game." Okay, I'm going to break right in there. I never said there is going to be a 25th anniversary Zelda game. I said that Nintendo is planning to do something to commemorate the 25th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda, and we don't know what it is going to be at all. It might be a game. It might be something completely different. So, we'll see. It could be, all Zelda games on the Virtual Console will be free for a week or something like that. We don't know. Back to your comment. I've seen some footage of Ocarina of Time 3D, which looks amazing. I really like that you can move the 3DS to control the first-person aiming. Funny enough, I'm playing through Master Quest at this moment on GameCube, but wouldn't mind playing through it again on the 3DS. Wow, your guest's first console was a GameCube? Well, now I'm a bit depressed. Yeah, it makes you feel old, doesn't it? Yeah. Mr. Lover of Ganja says, "Thank you for answering my question. Have you checked out the One True Metalhead yet? He's one of the few trolls that makes me laugh." Yeah, by your prompting, I looked at this guy's channel, and it's like this guy going around, I've seen this sort of thing on, Amazon and whatnot, saying the only true metal is, like Linkin Park and that kind of crap, and, it's all in good fun, I guess, but I just don't, get into the whole trolling on YouTube thing. I block trolls when they come on the channel. I don't deal with that, but I did look at the channel. It is kind of amusing, but it's nothing I haven't seen before. There was a guy on Amazon called Fred Durst, #1 fan, or something like that, and I first saw one of his reviews of an Opeth album, and he was like, this isn't metal. Where are the sick beats and guest rappers? And it just cracked me up. And the guy, all of his reviews were like that. But, it does get annoying after a while. Mega Zero says, "Thanks for answering my question." I keep saying thanks for asking. I don't know why I do that. "Thanks for answering my question. Minecraft isn't an MMO. I guess it can be if you join a server, but if you play single player, it's just you." Well, what's the point of that? You're going to build all this shit that nobody's going to see? Necro, keep corrupting the youth. Oh, yes. That's terrible. I apologize for that. Okay, and Nettlebox says, "Hey, Necro, thanks for answering my question." I'll begin like that. "I have another question for your VMX show, but about your Urban Legends of Video Gaming series. Would you would you consider doing one that would discuss the socio-political topic of violent video games and whether or not they really can have an effect on children? I know it wouldn't really fit into your criteria for that series, but it would be nice to see you take on such a subject. I do agree that it would be nice to take on such a subject, and I also agree that it wouldn't fit the criteria for that series. I don't think that that's an urban legend. I think that that would have to be a completely separate project. The thing is, that would, to do it properly, to do that and to do it right, which is the only way I like to do things, I don't like to half-ass things, I would have to have a study. I mean, there would have to be children involved and parents involved and control groups and all sorts of things that, maybe one day in the future, if I have a lot more time and a lot more money, I could see myself doing something like that. But as for right now, I couldn't do it justice, like I said. When I do something, I like to do it well. And, that's really not something I can do well right now. The Hood Rider leaves another comment. I like this. He says, lol. Secret of Mana pissed me off, too. Yeah, see, I'm not the only one. That game fucking pissed me off. S-Serpent21 says, hey, Necro, love the show. If Nintendo was working on something for the Zelda anniversary, I think it would be cool if they worked on making that satellite TV game, which was retouched version of the first Zelda game in Japan, available to us in America who never saw it or played it. Well, I don't think you'd even want to play that. It's stupid. I mean, the entire point of it was, the broadcasts and the story and everything, and doing things at predetermined times. I don't think they should do that. And he says, may I make a music request? The Macbeth theme from Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. Thank you and have a good day. Oh, man, you want to hear that? That's not a very good one. All right, well, you know what? I'll play a little bit of it. I'll play about a minute of it because it really is kind of repetitive. So, if it wasn't a show where I had a guest, if it was a show where it was just me talking for an hour, then I would play the whole thing. But, I am pressed for time a little bit. So here, you wanted the Macbeth theme. Here it is, a little bit of it anyway. There we go, a little bit of the Macbeth theme from Star Fox on Super NES. And you guys ever want to hear any particular songs for me to play, I'll try and do my best to work them into the show. I only play 2 to 3 songs in an episode, so if I'm getting a lot of requests, or, I'll have to pick and choose, but I'll try and do my best. Moving along with the questions and comments, let's see, Tformer23 leaves me a nice long comment, says, I really like this episode because I feel the same way the 13-year-old does. Assuming you're talking about the All Gamerhead, he does have a name, I'm currently 16 and I play mostly older games, specifically Nintendo. When I tell my friends I don't like playing games like FPSs and stuff like Call of Duty and Halo, and that I prefer third-person adventures and platformers, they think I'm crazy. I grew up playing with the N64 as my first console and owning several NES consoles and a Super NES. And I just think a lot of games now feel kind of the same. This interview makes me kind of want to do an interview too, because I have the same sort of viewpoint and would like to share sometime. Well, I'd be happy to have you on the show. I'm just very retro with everything I like. And one question for you, how much are you into fighting games? I know you mentioned Street Fighter a lot, and that you got Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but how much are you into them? Would you say you're like a hardcore fan that's pro at fighting games, or are you more relaxed and just play them every so often? The truth is somewhere between those two. I'm not a hardcore go-to-tourneys and, all that sort of shit, but it is one of my favorite genres of games to play, along with, like, RPGs and such. I really like fighting games, and I really love to sink my teeth into a really good fighting game, and so it's somewhere between them. I am very much into fighting games, but I'm not like a pro at them, and I'm not about to go to tournaments or anything like that. Here's more from Mega Zero. I would love to be on the show, but I'm very shy, and normally I am not very talkative. If I really don't have anything to say and I need to get a mic, well, I could use my wireless mic, but I have to get it from my girlfriend's house. Hey, whatever works. Doughboy Langelis says, hey, Necro, really enjoyed this episode. My question is, how many games do you own for your consoles? Holy shit, what a loaded question that is. These are going to be estimates because there's no way I'm going out there to count them all. I have about 200 games for the GameCube, probably around 50 to 60 for PlayStation 2, about 30 games for Xbox 360, about 25 or so for the Wii. God knows how many Game Boy games. I have no idea. A lot. I'm looking at about 25 or 28 or so DS games, probably about 40 for the NES, and about that many, about probably, actually less, probably about 30 or 35 Super NES games. I have around 15 Dreamcast games, about 20 or so Saturn games, and I think that pretty much covers everything. These are estimates. I'm not about to sit there. I've done the GameCube collection videos, which I haven't updated in a while because I haven't done any GameCube collecting in a while. And there was a video of me showing the PS2 games, but, that's outdated. I have so many more now. So, really, a lot. I have a lot of games. And that's not counting the ROM, so, there you go. I gotta share this with you guys. Before I even get back to the questions and comments, I just got this comment. You guys, I don't know if you saw the Final Fantasy VII End-Boss video from yesterday, but this guy, the Basman111, he leaves this comment. I can't believe people like this. It's all in caps, and it's just the most... It's so full of hyperbole. I can't believe that this guy's serious. This is what he writes to me. Without doubt, the single greatest game a man has ever created. This is not just a game, but a piece of art that is comparable to the Mona Lisa, the Sistine Chapel, and the Last Supper. Final Fantasy VII? Really? It hasn't aged that well, man. This game will not be beaten in my lifetime or anyone else's. This is beyond outstanding. I guess you'll kind of like it. I just want to share that with you because it's so funny when people get so passionate about a game that, honestly, I think it's overrated. I think it's a great game, but it's nowhere near the best game ever. It's not even close to being the best Final Fantasy game ever. I just want to share that with you guys. I got one more comment here. It's a question. It's from Ponergy, and he says, "Hey Necro, I have a question. Have you played any of the Mega Man Battle Network games for Game Boy Advance?" Yeah, I played the first one. I haven't managed to get my mitts on any of the others. I'm gonna have the ROMs, but I played the first one and I really did like it. I enjoyed it very much. I also have the one for GameCube, which is a side-scroller. I think it's called Mega Man Battle Network Transmission. And that one is also really kind of fun. And at the time, it was the closest we'd come to a modern-day Mega Man platformer. I mean, now we have Mega Man 9 and 10. But then we were kind of languishing with the side-scrollers there, so... But yeah, I do enjoy that series. I just haven't had the chance to play a lot of them. Because they are RPGs, they are long, and... I have a lot of games to play. So there you have it. So that's it for questions and comments. Let's play a little music, and then we'll get to the news. Here's a little song from Final Fantasy XIII, which I will tell you I enjoyed more than 7, so there. Boy, I'll tell you, Final Fantasy, if there's one thing that series does better than any other series, it's end boss music. That was Orphan's theme from Final Fantasy XIII, the last boss song of the game. So, let's get to the news. Kind of a slow news week, not too much to talk about, but that works out well because I do have a guest interview coming up right after the news. This is one that came up in the middle of the week that kind of intrigued me. EA, Electronic Arts, can and will ban you from a game. Well, of course, you're probably thinking multiplayer, and the person probably did something really bad, like cheating. Well, no. This person was banned from playing Dragon Age 2. And that, if you don't know, is a single-player only game. What were they banned for? A post on the EA forum. And what did they say? Well, it wasn't even that bad. It was just something like, have you guys sold your souls to the EA devil? Well, I guess EA doesn't like being compared to the devil. And I guess maybe this guy hit a little close to home, I might say? Yeah. He was banned from the EA community for 3 days, which included not being able to play Dragon Age 2 because he was playing the PC version, which of course requires an online EA account to play. So, What do you think of this? This is pretty insane. They're going to ban you from playing a single-player game because they didn't like your post on the forum. Now, they have every right to ban you from the forum. Do they have the right to ban you from the game? According to their end-user licensing agreement and the agreements that you go through when you sign up on their forums, yes, they do have the legal right to do this. Do they have the moral right to do it? Well, let me just put it this way. Electronic Arts, if you continue to do things like this, nobody's going to buy your games. It doesn't matter how good Dragon Age 2 is. If you're going to say, well, we're going to cut you off from being able to play it by yourself in your own home after you shelled out $60 for it because we don't like what you have to say about us, well, then you might as well just have a nationwide blacklist where the people can't even purchase the game. Why don't you do that? So, I just got to say, EA not exactly making themselves a lot of friends. This is all over the video gaming news, and now they look like chumps. So, to the person out there who made a comment, which was not exactly the most intelligent comment out there, but, you know, it wasn't that bad to be banned for 72 hours from playing their games. I guess you're a martyr for us to all learn a little bit more about the EA machine and what's going on with them. Big news was PAX East happened, and there's not really a lot to talk about. I did want to say that Duke Nukem Forever was shown at PAX East, and that there's a demo, there's a video of a boss battle, and it's getting a lot of positive feedback, so hopefully it will turn out to not suck. PlayStation 3 owners can now, if they have the PlayStation Plus subscription, can now save to the cloud. And if you don't know what that means, it's called cloud saving, which basically means that your save files will not be stored on your PlayStation 3 machine, but will in fact be stored in what's called the cloud, which is basically kind of like a torrent. It's going to be on the internet, basically, on PlayStation Network servers, so to speak. This is a good thing for several reasons. It'll free up hard drive space for some people. Now, of course, that's kind of negligible because the PlayStation 3s tend to have pretty large hard drives and the saves don't take up all that much. But there are a few games that have big saves, and especially if you have a lot of games installed, because some games require you to install them, you might not have a lot of space to spare for saves, as small as they may be. And also, if anything ever happened to your PlayStation 3, your save is still out there, which is a really great idea, because like what happens if it breaks or it needs to be replaced or there's some sort of failure or just a hard drive failure, you get a new PlayStation 3, your saves are still out there. So that's a really cool thing for PlayStation 3 owners, and I predict that we'll probably see something similar to that for the Xbox 360 because it is a good idea. Of course, as I mentioned, it is only for people who have PlayStation Plus subscriptions. So if you want to get involved in cloud saving for PlayStation 3, you got to get that PlayStation Plus subscription for that perk. Haven't talked about this previously, but there's a game out there called We Dare. It's for the Wii. It's not coming out in America, and basically it's sort of like a truth or dare party game, and it's rated PEGI 12 by PEGI, which would basically be the equivalent of our T rating for the ESRB. The thing is, the advertisements for the game are very risque, and they show people basically using it to play, well, what you would call adult party games. So this has caused a bit of a controversy because the game is rated PEGI 12. PEGI has responded to this by saying they don't rate the advertisement, they only rate the content in the actual game. There is no adult content in the game, but if people are going to use the game to play adult party games, well, that's their problem, and I want to add personally that they don't need a video game to play Truth or Dare. So I'm just going to say that right off the bat. It's not coming out in the United States, and it is also now not coming out in England. So the United Kingdom will not be getting We Dare. And by the way, it's not spelled We as in the console, so it's W-E, but it's obvious why they named it We Dare. It is coming out in the rest of Europe, though. Microsoft will not ban Microsoft Points exploit users. Oh, yes. There was an exploit with the Microsoft Points which allowed you to reuse points that had already been used, which caused a lot of mayhem on Xbox Live, including Microsoft losing $1.2 million of the virtual currency, Microsoft points. I'm not sure exactly what that is in real dollars, but basically people purchasing games with money that they didn't have or money that was already spent. The glitch is now fixed, and Microsoft claims that they know the usernames of every single person who did this. So every single gamer profile, or gamer tag, I think it's called, they know you. They got your number. Now, are they going to ban these people? No. They are not going to ban them, but they are keeping an eye on them. So I want to say to anybody out there, if you indeed took advantage of this exploit, you might want to lay low for a while. Don't do any cheating. Don't break any of the rules, because they're looking for an excuse to ban you. And if you're wondering why they don't ban people that blatantly stole, the reason is probably because there's so many that if they banned that many people, they would see a big hit in their business. So, there you go. Here's another piece of news. This is going to be the last piece of news before we get to the Pyote interview. Microsoft is still attempting to sell their Kinect add-on. It's the motion control add-on for the 360 in Japan. Now, is that like a big issue? Well, here's the thing. We all know the Xbox 360 is not exactly a big seller in Japan. It's a big seller here in America. But in Japan, they have their national pride, their loyalties to Sony and Nintendo. I don't know why I blanked there, and also the fact that there is a little bit of racism going on there. But I'm not going to concern myself too much with that. But the big reason that Kinect is such a poor seller in Japan, aside from the fact that there isn't a large consumer base for the Xbox 360, is that many gamers in Japan feel that it's not made for them. Japan, of course, has a very large population and is a very small country. They have a lot of overcrowding, and most Japanese live in very small apartments. So they had their concerns that the Kinect is not going to work in cramped conditions. So Microsoft is at work trying to get this sold in Japan. How are they doing it? With a trailer. Not a trailer like for a movie or a game, but an actual trailer, as in the kind of thing that trails your truck. So they got this big, I guess you'd say kind of a fucked up party van thing going, around Tokyo and whatnot, and they got this trailer on the back of it that has a living room setup that is very similar to the living rooms that most Japanese people live in. As a matter of fact, it may actually be a little bit smaller, and has the low ceiling, the ceiling fans, and everything, and they're inviting people to come and play the Kinect in an environment that mirrors their own to show them that, yes, it will work, and it is possible for you to get this. And I think that's actually a pretty good idea, because if your consumer base has a huge concern that the product is not for them and then it's not going to work for them in their situation, what better way to get them to realize that that's false by simulating their exact situation and saying, here, try it out. Tell me what you think. And that doesn't mean that millions of Japanese people are going to go out and buy the Kinect, because, like I said, the Xbox 360 itself is not a huge hit there. But they do love their motion controls, so it's possible that if this catches on, this whole trailer idea, if this really works, it may sell Xbox 360 consoles over there. So I do the sales figures at the end of every episode, so if we start to see a rise, we'll see why. But right now, we're going to get to Pyote. So let's bring Pyote onto the show. Welcoming Andrew to the show, also known as Pyote on YouTube. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing.
That's good to hear.
So what brings you here today?
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about Skyrim and maybe a little bit about the timeline of the Elder Scrolls series, if that's all right.
That's fine with me. Go ahead.
All right, well, I was looking at the trailer earlier today and the other past couple days, I've been seeing a lot. It looks like they're changing from Oblivion into this. I've only played Oblivion, so I don't have much to compare from Morrowind or any of the others.
Okay. And perhaps I can give you a little bit more background on those because I've played all the games.
Yes, which would be just fantastic. I'm noticing one thing is just the environment itself, because the new game engine looks really, really good.
Well, of course, actually, what's interesting is that Oblivion used an engine called the Gamebryo engine, which was actually the same engine that they used in Morrowind. And you do see a huge jump in graphics from Morrowind to Oblivion, but they've created a brand new engine for this, so you're seeing things like leaves on trees moving independently, water that flows correctly. So you're definitely seeing a lot more detail in the game engine now with Skyrim.
Yes, definitely. Like right now, I'm kind of skipping around through the trailer, pausing it. I'm noticing, like right here on the big top of the mountain snowing part, I can count out all the individual snowflakes if I wanted to go through that kind of time. Like what you said with the water part, I'm checking that out.
Yeah, the water flows realistically. It's interesting that you mentioned the snow because I don't know how much you know about the lore of the Elder Scrolls series and how the whole map plays into view, but the previous game, Oblivion, took place in Cyrodiil, which is like kind of in the middle of everything.
Yes.
Skyrim's to the north. Morrowind is sort of
It's
northeast
kind of off to the side.
Yeah, it's sort of northeast of Cyrodiil. It's east of Skyrim, but there was an add-on for the Morrowind game called Blood Moon, which took place on an island that's very close to Skyrim.
It was Solstheim, right?
Solstheim, exactly, and it had snow, but the thing is, the snow did not fall dynamically. It would basically go through any of the obstacles, and it wouldn't accumulate. And in this, you're going to see realistic snowfall that will accumulate on the ground and everything.
That's neat. And I noticed in Oblivion, did the same kind of a thing, didn't ever really build up to anything.
Well, Oblivion, you didn't see much snow. I mean, you saw it on the ground, but I never really saw it snowing in Oblivion.
I did a couple of times when you were up near Dive Rock, I think.
Oh, I don't think I ever wandered over there. There never seemed to be a reason to be there.
There's a couple little Easter eggs and a non-journal quest thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. I remember you go up there, you find like a book in a bag, and it's a bunch of notes about some guy hunting down a big troll, and if you're a high enough level, it'll show up and try and kill you, then you'll find his bones inside of it.
Spectacular. Yeah, like I said, I never did it.
I see. I'm filling you in.
So what else are you noticing that's different?
There looks like over here, it's almost like finishing moves. It seemed kind of like at one point.
Yeah, I did read about that. They are including finishing moves, which it depends on what type of weapon you're using, like are you using a blade or using an axe or whatever, and also the specific type of enemy you're fighting. So it won't be the same thing over and over again, but it seems that you can knock an enemy to the ground and then finish them off quickly, which kind of reminds me of like The Legend of Zelda or something.
It kind of reminds me of that the one that it shows where there's that guy and you stick your sword in his stomach. It reminds me of the demo I've played for Dark Messiah Might and Magic on the computers.
Are you talking about the part where he stabs the guy with the knife?
Yes.
Actually, I think that is not a finishing move, although they do have that in the game. I think that is, because I was reading the Game Informer article, but I guess you'd call it a feature because it was like 14 pages, and they said that the stealth aspect of this game is much greater, and that they've actually given daggers a use, and that there is a special move you can perform as a sort of a 10x hit when you're using a dagger and somebody doesn't see you.
Yes, there's that.
I think you may be seeing that.
Yes. Oh, I was talking about just a little bit after that, right after it shows you pulling back the bow in the trailer. Then it shows.
I don't have the trailer memorized.
I don't either. I'm just looking at this one little spot. But definitely, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to make this one a little bit more dynamic than Oblivion, a little bit less clunky, and to make it feel more natural. There's a big emphasis on different weapons feeling different, so that swinging a sword and swinging an axe is two very different experiences in the game.
Yeah, and then I remember I was looking up that article a few days ago. They were talking about, was it when you're going backwards, it's going to be a lot slower, and if you're going forward, so you can't do that backtrack and swing anymore.
Yeah, they don't want you to do that. And I think that it was funny because the reason they gave wasn't even a gameplay reason. It was they very much increased the looks of the third person mode, so that's improved. But they said it looks stupid in third person move when you're backpedaling like a maniac. So they wanted it to sort of look natural, and for people who want to play in third person mode to not lose the immersion. So that's why they did that.
And I'm thinking back on it now, in Oblivion, when you were backpedaling, you did look kind of tarded.
Yeah, that's why I always play in first-person mode. It kind of harkens back to the very first game, the Elder Scrolls Arena, where you couldn't back up nearly as quickly as any of the other games.
True.
Of course, that game had... you never played Arena, but it had a very bad control scheme, even though it was a great game. Basically...
you had to right-click and swing the mouse around to attack, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about movement. You had to basically move the mouse around the screen, and it would give you like different arrows, and then you'd click it to move in that direction.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of gameplay videos.
It was unpleasant at the time. I guess sort of similar to what System Shock did. But that's a control scheme you really, thankfully, don't see anymore.
I forget. Could you refresh my memory on System Shock?
It was a first-person shooter for PC only. And there were two of them. There was System Shock and System Shock 2, and they didn't make any more after that. The natural sort of sequel to that, like the spiritual sequel, would be Bioshock. So if you've ever played Bioshock, it's sort of similar to that.
I see. And also, funny you mentioned Bioshock. I was going to talk about, I'm looking forward to, you can equip one weapon to each hand kind of a thing that reminds me.
Yeah, they have the dual welding, which I think that they probably were thinking of Bioshock 2 when they came up with that. So you have, you could have two weapons. You can have a weapon and a spell, two spells, spell and a shield, weapon and a shield. I guess you could equip two shields if you're an idiot.
Well, no, I won't try it just once.
I'm sure you could.
Yes.
Just to walk around looking like an idiot.
Just walk around and be like, you can't touch me. Someone runs up, stabs you in the neck. You're like...
One thing that I thought was a good idea is that they've seemed to revamp the marksman. You were talking about pulling back the bow. Did you notice that the bow pulls back a lot slower in this?
It does, and it looks very realistic.
And they're doing that not so you can't fire off arrows very quickly, but from what I hear, the arrows are a lot more powerful in this.
Yeah, and even at that,
for someone who plays an archer, I didn't enjoy in Oblivion where you would have to fight, something like an ogre, and it would take like 40 arrows.
Yeah,
it just takes forever to kill anything.
Yeah, I wasn't too much of an archer, really. I'm the guy who runs in with the biggest weapon I could find to start hacking people up.
Well, I play a rogue type character, so I and in Morrowind, bows were the best weapons in the game.
I see.
So I was used to that, and in Oblivion, they definitely screwed up the archery in that game. So I'm glad that they're making it where you don't have to rapid fire arrows like crazy. Where one arrow, if you're undetected, should be able to kill someone.
Hopefully, I remember whenever I used a bow, I would use I think it's called Shadowrun, the one you get from the Dark Brotherhood quest line.
Yeah,
it was always fun to use. But,
yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I had the Daedric bow and a couple of enchantments on it, and I would poison the arrows, and I would be undetected, and still you couldn't get a one-hit kill.
That was one thing. It didn't seem realistic sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they seem to be fixing that, because a lot of people played Oblivion and started with archery because they had played Morrowind and they were used to it, and it was disappointing.
What is it? My friends had been playing Morrowind by the time Oblivion came out. They were telling me how it was, real awesome and that kind of stuff. And I felt sad because I was poor because, I couldn't buy it. But they were talking about Blood Moon when it came out and the werewolves and such.
Yes.
I thought they were going to do the same for Oblivion, and then I got there.
That's interesting. They did. Yeah, they did. You could be a vampire, but you
which
couldn't...
really wasn't all that fun to me personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could be a vampire, but you couldn't be a werewolf in that one. If you go back to the second game, Daggerfall, that actually it let you be a bunch of different. You could even be like a were-boar in that one.
Really?
Yeah.
I might
Good
have
luck getting that game to run, though.
I might have to get a DOS box and try that out.
Good luck. They call it Buggerfall for a reason.
I see.
Yeah. It's hard to get it to run properly.
Yeah, so that's something in Skyrim I really hope that they do. I'd really like to be able to be a werewolf.
And, I kind of wonder how they would implement, because in Daggerfall, like, let's say you were a werewolf in Daggerfall, it had a real, like, lunar cycle, and it would, on the full moon, you would turn into a werewolf. Whereas in Blood Moon, you would just turn into a werewolf at night, which made it less realistic to say that, but it was also more fun because you got to be the werewolf more often.
True, and then once you got a Hersign's ring, you could put it on whenever you wanted to become a werewolf, right?
Yeah, that came after you beat the game. You could get Hersign's ring and basically turn into a werewolf in broad daylight if you wanted to.
I've done a little bit of my homework on this.
Yeah, I can tell. And Hersign's ring is an artifact that goes back to even the first game, which didn't have werewolves. You couldn't be one, but a lot of the artifacts appear in each game. Of course, as an archer, I was disappointed that Oriel's bow wasn't in Oblivion, so hopefully that'll make an appearance in Skyrim.
It'd be nice. I've heard about it.
This is the fifth game, so story-wise, it seems that they've been leading up to this because the prophecy of the dragon god returning and everything. You have the warning signs, and it was basically the events of the first 4 games. So that's kind of an interesting thing that they've done there. And I don't believe for a second that they had that plan from the get-go, but they sure like to make it seem that way.
Yeah, so even if they didn't have it all planned out,
there's no way they did.
It fit in nicely.
Because the original game was actually not even supposed to be an RPG.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was. Well, the reason that it's even called the Elder Scrolls Arena, it was originally just called the Arena, and it was the whole thing is that you'd put together like a party of guys, and you'd be gladiators and battle other gladiators.
That's what the case kind of alluded to. I wasn't really expecting.
It doesn't work if you talk at the same time as me. People can't understand you.
Sorry.
And the idea was that as they worked on the game, they kept adding in more and more RPG elements until they said, you know what, let's just make it an RPG.
And look where they got with it.
Yeah, it's some of the most amazing things happen by accident.
Yep. Sometimes you just gotta say, fuck it, take a shot.
Now, when you played Oblivion, did you play through the quest line of the arena in the Imperial City?
I did. I loved doing that. It was a good way to level up.
That was a fun one. There's a poster outside of the arena.
And
actually,
it looks
also
surprisingly like the cover to the first one.
It's very similar to the box art for the first game. Very similar.
Very, very similar. And, I'm just kind of clicking through still. And it looks like the physics and how the other people maneuver around you and stuff is greatly improved, it looks like.
Yeah, one thing that bothered me in Oblivion, and really all the games up until that point, was that when you walk into the city, you become the center of attention, and everybody turns and looks at you, and they're like, oh, there he is, look at him. He's over there now, let's watch him. And it's kind of creepy, actually. And
it was.
I've heard,
like everyone was the adoring fan.
Yeah, exactly. From what I've heard, they've fixed it, and that people just go about their business. They'll talk to you, but they're not going to give you their undivided attention.
Yes, which is nice because it makes it easier to sneak around.
That is true, because especially when you're trying to steal something in a store and the guy just starts following you around.
Yeah, he's being all creeper. He's like, I'm going to rape you.
I'm coming after you.
I'm watching you steal shit.
Yeah, that's when you turn invisible and they get all confused.
and then you run up and knock them out and run away.
No, well, you don't do that. That's not smart.
I did
They
it.
follow you. They follow you usually, because when you hit somebody, you're not invisible anymore.
Unless you've got all the chameleon shit going on.
Yeah, you could do that, but that's that's a pain in the ass.
It was a pain in the ass. I did it once.
In I don't know. I never even tried it, but in Morrowind, if you talk to people while you were chameleon, they would get really freaked out.
That would have been neat if they'd kept that.
They'd be like, "Who's there? Who's there?" And they get freaked out, and they didn't want to talk to you.
I'd like to see that now.
It's almost like being a vampire. Nobody. Have I ever? I don't know if I've ever mentioned the story about how I became a not quite vampire in Oblivion.
No, I haven't heard the story before.
Pain in the ass this was. I'll tell you what happened was I was fighting a vampire and I contracted the disease and I used a cure common disease potion.
It didn't work.
It seemed to work. I didn't have any of the symptoms. It wasn't listed on my status. And 3 days later, I didn't get a message or anything saying that I was a vampire, but people started acting like I was. Like I'd run up and talk to somebody and they'd be like, "You'll get none of my blood." And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? My appearance didn't change because, it gives you the red eyes and the fangs.
Yeah, it, like, wrinkles your face, makes you look like the dude from the end of The Last Crusade.
Yeah, it kind of does, actually. So I didn't understand why people were acting like I was a vampire when I was walking around in broad daylight, not taking damage from the sun, had none of the symptoms or the powers. I didn't understand what was going on. And apparently it was just like a cosmic glitch in the game. And I talked to some people at the Elder Scrolls forums, and they couldn't figure it out, so they just gave me the cheat code the cheat code to make myself normal again.
I see.
So, I don't know what the hell happened there. Never happened again, either.
Just a bug, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could have went back to an earlier save or something, but it was just such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, probably.
Especially when you drag all your shit back and you sell it and everything.
Yeah.
You don't want to go through all that again.
I'm definitely more of a console gamer when it comes down to that kind of stuff because my computer barely runs Team Fortress.
Oh, okay. So you're playing on Xbox 360 then?
Yes, I am.
So if that happened, you'd be screwed.
Exactly. Actually, no, I'm not playing on it right now. I got the red ring back in fucking October, the day before I picked up Fable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the Xbox was rejecting Fable.
I don't know. It seems to like Fable whenever I would put it in.
Well, you got the red ring.
And the day before I picked up Fable 3, I dropped fucking $80 on the Holy Shit edition.
Okay.
Maybe it was saying you shouldn't have wasted your money.
Yeah. It's like, nah, this game ain't that good.
Yeah.
Don't bother.
So eventually when I can get some money, I'm either going to replace it or just get it fixed. I know a guy. He'll do it for like...
It's probably better to replace it, because if you do get the red ring, it means you have one of those older 360 consoles.
Yeah.
And they're just prone to it, Yeah,
definitely.
It's just better to spend the extra money, get the newer model.
And then just get the cord and put all my old data on the new hard drive.
Exactly. So then you don't have to worry about
it's more worth my
ring
time
anymore.
Because I don't want to have to go back through Knights of the Nine, Shivering Isles, and get all the cool shit that I had again.
Yeah, well, by the time you get all that, you'll be playing Skyrim anyway.
Exactly.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Very true. Very true.
And I do wonder what kind of add-ons we'll see. I mean, we had... it seems the tradition is to have one okay add-on and one amazing add-on for Oblivion.
Yeah, one little small thing and one
was okay.
Thing.
I have no idea what you're saying.
I was saying, it's like, it seems kind of like, Knights of the Nine was a small thing, took place still in the main location. Then
it was okay. It wasn't anything amazing.
Yeah, but
then Shivering Isles was really good.
Yeah, when I first loaded it up, I got the Game of the Year edition eventually. So I loaded that up, and it pops up, hey, there's a door. I was like, why the fuck not? I'll go check it out. I step inside, the black goes away. I was like, holy shit, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, and the room turns into, like, butterflies and shit, and it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Bliss and dementia.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I felt kind of like I was in a Lewis Carroll nightmare.
That's actually a pretty good description of the Shivering Isles.
Kinda.
And I'll give you another piece of lore. The Shivering Isles is actually part of Oblivion.
It is. It's Sheogorath's plane.
Yep. Because I was reading about that. Basically, Oblivion surrounds Mundus, which is like the whole universe that it takes place in.
Yeah.
And really, if they ever run out of, like, because they've just been on one continent so far, if they ever run out of provinces, they can just
go to the other side of
a different part of Nirn,
Just go back to
or go to a different planet.
Very true.
Or have a game that takes place in one of the Oblivion planes we haven't seen.
I think that'd be really cool.
Because there's 14 of them that we haven't seen.
Yeah. We've only seen 2 of them.
Yeah, Sheogorath's, of course, and what's his face?
Dagon's. Mehrunes Dagon.
Mehrunes Dagon, that's his freaking name. Yeah.
Cool name, but he looks like
him the Jolly Red Giant.
Yeah, he looks like Gordo from Mortal Kombat.
He does kind of look like Goro,
Just
except he's pissed off Goro. He's pissed off Goro. Somebody spray painted him while he was sleeping, and he's not too happy about it.
They spray painted him and fed him Miracle Grow.
Or maybe Nirn is just really a lot smaller than Outworld.
It could be.
Are you looking forward to the new Mortal Kombat?
I am looking forward to it. I remember when I was a little kid, it was a while ago. Well, I was born in 92. Or my uncle was living with us at the time. He gave us a Sega Genesis with Mortal Kombat and Toe Jam and Earl. So I grew up with those 2 games. They were fun.
I never understood the point of Toe Jam and Earl.
I never beat it, but once you have the controls down, it's pretty fun. My brothers and I, we would always... It's like you go get the rocket shoes, then you go back to level 1 and you sail like down the screen, you get to level 0, there's a lemonade stand and a hot tub with women in it, and we just sat there for hours.
That's very strange.
Very, very strange.
But do you have a PlayStation 3?
I do not.
So so you have no way of playing the new Mortal Kombat then?
No, not yet.
You gotta get that new Xbox.
Yeah, first I gotta get a fucking job.
That helps. That does help.
It does.
That does help. Money is a very important thing when you're a video gamer.
It's making this world go round.
Yep. Alright, so anything else you wanted to talk about before we call it a day?
I think we pretty much covered up all the bases.
Okay. Alright, well thanks for coming on the show. We'll have to have you on again sometime.
If you really want me.
Well, we'll see. All right, and so that where's the thing? So that's been Pyote, and we'll see you guys. We'll go back to the show now. Oh man, well I do try to keep it at around an hour. We're nearing an hour and 10 minutes, so let's very quickly get through the end of the show, which would be video game sales figures for this past week in Japan, America, and Europe. You'll know what's going on, what the hottest selling games are, and what the trends are. So let's get into that. First, let's get into the top 10 best-selling games in America in the week ending in March 5th. The number 1 selling game was Killzone 3 for the PlayStation 3. That sold 120,962 copies. And number 2, Rift for PC. And you don't see PC games on this list too often, but Rift for PC sold 106,760 copies. And number 3, Wii Sports for the Wii sold 105,388 copies. And number 4, Just Dance 2 for the Wii sold 101,345 copies. And number 5, Kinect Adventures for Xbox 360 sold 99,566 copies. And number 6, Fight Night Champion for the 360 sold 98,226 copies. At number 7, Bulletstorm for the Xbox 360 sold 86,629 copies. And number 8, Call of Duty Black Ops for the Xbox 360 sold 82,841 copies. At number 9, Wii Sports Resort for the Wii sold 75,007 copies. And at number 10, Fight Night Champion for PlayStation 3 sold 74,294 copies. Here are the top 10 best-selling games in Japan for the week ending on March 6th. At number 1, Dissidia Duodecim Final Fantasy for the PlayStation Portable sold 282,992 copies. At number 2, Samurai Do 4, I guess we would call that Way of the Samurai 4 for PlayStation 3, sold 74,692 copies. At number 3, Layton Kyoju to Kiseki no Kamen, which we would call Professor Layton and the Mask of Miracle for the 3DS, sold 60,713 copies. At number 4, SD Gundam G Generation World, sold that's for the PSP, sold 45,916 copies. And number 5, Nintendogs Plus Cats for the 3DS sold 43,428 copies. And number 6, Phantasy Star Portable 2 Infinity for the PSP sold 42,407 copies. At number 7, Digimon Story Super X-Ros Wars Blue-Red. What a fucking title there. That's for the DS. That sold 36,281 copies. And number 8, Sengoku Musu Chronicle for 3DS, that's Samurai Warriors Chronicles in English, that sold 30,249 copies. And number 9, Monster Hunter Portable 3rd, which we would call Monster Hunter Freedom 3 for PlayStation Portable, sold 25,966 copies. And at number 10, Star Driver Kageyaki no... you know what, I'm just going to say it. I don't have it in English. Okay, Star Driver Kageyaki no Takuro Jinja Bishonen Densitsu. What a title. That's for the PlayStation Portable, and that sold 20,984 copies. Here are the top 10 best-selling video games in Europe the week ending in March 5th. We have at number 1, Pokemon Black and White for DS, of course, for selling 627,562 copies. Over 500,000. That's a hit in Europe there. And number 2, Killzone 3 for PlayStation 3 sold 105,956 copies. And number 3, Wii Sports for the Wii sold 57,251 copies. And number 4, Fight Night Champion for the Xbox 360 sold 53,389 copies. And number 5, Bulletstorm for the Xbox 360 sold 50,762 copies. And number 6, Fight Night Champion for the PlayStation 3 sold 50,409 copies. And number 7, Just Dance 2 for the Wii sold 48,419 copies. And number 8, Wii Sports Resort for the Wii sold 42,437 copies. At number 9, Call of Duty Black Ops for PlayStation 3 sold 34,601 copies. And at number 10, Wii Party for the Wii sold 31,178 copies. Going into hardware sales, and this week I do have the 3DS. Of course, that's only included in the Japanese charts. So looking at it in America, the top selling console, and this is all for week ending March 5th. The top selling console was the Xbox 360, with 123,929 consoles sold, followed by the Wii with 105,388 consoles sold, followed very closely by the DS with 105,315 consoles sold. The PlayStation 3 sold 95,580 consoles, and dead last is the PlayStation Portable selling 56,163 consoles. In Japan, the number 1 best-selling console this week was the 3DS, selling 209,438 consoles, followed by the PlayStation Portable, selling 74,326 consoles. Then the PlayStation 3 with 25,209 consoles, the DS with 19,200 consoles, the Wii with 11,110 consoles, and dead last the Xbox 360 with 2,905 consoles. In Europe, the highest selling console was the DS with 97,609 consoles, followed by PlayStation 3 with 83,561 consoles, the Wii with 65,056 consoles, the Xbox 360 with 56,698 consoles, and dead last the PSP with 37,388 consoles. So, worldwide, the DS did the best, followed by the 3DS, the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, and PSP coming in last, of course doing well in Japan. But for once, the PSP was not the top-selling console in Japan. The 3DS, of course, because it's brand new, did much better. So, that's going to be it for this episode. Leave me your questions and comments. We'll see. If you want to be on the show, let me know. We'll do an interview on Skype sometime during the week. It's got to be in the evening. I can't stress that enough. I always say that, but people are always not getting that. So we'll see you next week. VMX out.